Good morning, my sunshines. I hope everyone's doing okay. Today we're going to talk about area, and perimeter of triangles. Perimeter, remember, is the sum of all sides. And when we're looking at a triangle, it's important that we do not include the inside. Because what you're going to see here is a line here, which is called the altitude, which represents how tall the triangle really is. So when we're talking about perimeter, we're only looking at the outside measures. So what do? We add 6 plus 6 plus 7, and we get 20. And then whatever the units are is what you would use. So perimeter again means adding up the outsides of a shape. Do not include that inside measure. They're going to try and trick you and put that in there. Now, if we're looking at the area of a triangle is basically half of a rectangle or a square. So the formula is the base, which is what it sits on, times the height, and that's where that altitude comes into the play, divided by 2. So in this case, we find the right angle, whatever line is perpendicular from the base attached to that right angle, that's your height. So in this case, we would do base is 4 times 3 and then divide it by 2. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And then we write units squared or inches squared because we're talking about area. Now over here in this triangle, you can see the altitude. This is a right angle here. So you look for the altitude. That's your height. So see the 3 on the inside here is the height. The base is what it sits on. Disregard this outside measure. That's just the measure of this slanted line. That is not the height of the triangle. So you do base, which is 12, times height, which is 3. 12 times 3 is 36, divided by 2, and you get 18. And then don't forget to do meters squared. Okay, let's take a look at some examples. All right, so I have 2 problems. Let's focus on the top one. It says find the area and perimeter. So we're finding area and perimeter of each triangle. So remember, perimeter means add the outside measures. So we add all the outside. Do not include the inside height. So you say 3 plus 10 plus 15, and we get 21. And the units was inches. Notice we do not square it, so you get 21 inches. To find the area, or the inside measure of this shape, you just do base times height divided by 2. So the base in this case is 15. The height is where that right angle is and the dotted line going up. That's your altitude. So that's 2. So you do 15 times 2 and divide it by 2. 15 times 2 is 30. Divided by 2 is 15. And then you square your units. Let's look at the bottom triangle. Again, you can see you have a base here of 14, your height is 6, and you have a side measure of 7. Now, remember tick marks? Tick marks in all shapes mean that those sides that have the tick marks are congruent to each other. So notice they did not tell you the measure of this side over here, but since the tick marks are the same, that means if this side is 7, this side would also be 7. So when I find the perimeter, I would say 14 plus 7 plus 7, which is what I did here, which gives me 28. And then I just write inches, not squared, because we're talking about perimeter, which is the outside measure of the shape. Now, to find area of the same shape, I need the base and the height. The height, remember, is that altitude, that dotted line attached to the right angle. Disregard that 7. That is not the height of the triangle. The height is always attached to the right angle. So I do 14 times 6, which is what I wrote here, and put divided by 2, because remember a triangle is half of a rectangle or square, so that's where the divided by 2 comes in the formula. 84 divided by 2 gives me 42, and then I write inches squared. I think this is pretty straightforward. I expect you to do well on today's activity. I also included the video from last week on area and perimeter of rectangles and squares. All right, you guys, I will be available. If you need extra help, come in at 11:15 today, and I will be happy to help you. All right, take care.